Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Q&A with Dr. A. You know, tonight is going to be a food show, so I think you guys are really going to enjoy this evening. Don't forget, you can also scroll down below this video. If you have a question or something you'd like us to submit, some sort of a product you want us to review, or anything, any question you have, you can submit that using the button below this video. It'll take you directly to our confidential question and answer. And again, as we say each week, you are the script writer for this Q&A that we're doing weekly. So it's Thursday night. Let's jump straight in. Lots of great stuff and a lot of food questions. First question says, I came to your seminar and you talked a lot about chocolate, how it's really healthy. How do I know what is a good chocolate bar? So let's take a deep dive into it. Obviously, I hope you guys know the answer, not necessarily the best chocolate bar, but it is a chocolate bar, so I wanted to talk to you about something I do and how I read labels when I look at this. So I know you won't have one of these in front of you, but I'll post it below for the after video so you can watch this. But basically, I look here and I say, okay, ingredients, milk chocolate, which is made of cane sugar, milk chocolate, cocoa butter, milk fat, and soy lecithin, and natural flavorings. And while it sounds good, you have to remember, this is not dark chocolate. So dark chocolate won't have a lot of the dairy in it. And of course, the first ingredient is cane sugar. So I'm looking at the back and I see total 5 total carbohydrates, which is moderately high for a chocolate bar, considering that they count this as one serving. So 25 grams of total carbohydrates and only 1 gram of fiber. So the net carbs, the total sugar load of this is 24 grams. And it kind of makes sense because the first ingredient is cane sugar. So yes, it is chocolate, but this is not the chocolate we're talking about when we're talking healthy longevity. So this afternoon, I went to Whole Foods and I picked 3 bars that I thought were decent looking, and we're going to talk about each of them just briefly. But the reason why chocolate is so good for your health is it's loaded with minerals, magnesium and iron, even selenium. So when you hear about this French woman who lived to be over 120 years old and she ate 2 pounds of chocolate a day, I don't necessarily think she was eating this stuff because, again, she lived in France and this is from Whole Foods, but it's close. So first one is the least expensive. I think this thing was about $1.50, maybe $1.80. It is the generic sort of 365 organic dark chocolate. It's nice. It says it's USDA organic. It says it's whole trade, whatever that means. But again, looking at the back, very first ingredient is organic cane sugar. So notice that I read this one, 23 grams of carbohydrates, 3 grams of fiber, so we're at a 20 gram net. That's really not that much difference than the Hershey bar, except this one has milk and this one does not. So better, but we could still do a lot better. So of course, next ingredients is chocolate liqueur, and it also says it has cocoa butter and vanilla extract. Love that there's no milk in here. This is a better dark chocolate. It is rated at 56% cacao, so that's also an important number to look at. The higher the percentage of cacao, the more raw that chocolate is, or the more natural that chocolate is. So next I pulled an 85% dark green and black organic. And this is not a bad bar. In my opinion, it's a great one. It's labeled as USDA organic. It's a fair trade. And reading the back of this one, I see there's only 14 grams of net carbs. So a huge drop in sugar and 5 grams of fiber. So we're looking at about, what is that? It's at like a 10? No, gosh, it's actually 9 grams of net total carbs. So now we've almost, a third less sugar. And notice at 85%, this is much more pure raw chocolate. So the ingredients on this is organic chocolate, cocoa butter, organic raw cane sugar. So it does still have a little sugar in it, and vanilla extract. By the way, plain 100% chocolate is extremely bitter. Think of like baker's chocolate. If you ate that, most people would spit it out. So this is a really good bar, kind of low in sugar and not a lot of crazy ingredients. But my favorite of them all is definitely this guy. Partly because it's 88%, and that one was 85, and they call this extreme dark. And it's extremely dark because it's got more of just raw chocolate inside of it. Again, USDA organic, fair trade, and we're looking at the back of this, 12 grams of total carbohydrates with 5 grams of fiber. So we are now in the perfect range of what a good, nice chocolate bar should be. And again, reading the ingredients, it's chocolate liqueur, organic cocoa butter, raw cane sugar, and vanilla beans. That's pretty much what you want. If I was going to make my own chocolate, I would get chocolate liqueur, the cocoa butter. I would skip on the cane sugar, do a liquid stevia, and add the vanilla. And by the way, it's so easy to make chocolate. You just melt it down over a double boiler, pour it into a mold, refrigerate it, freeze it, and you could have like super extreme dark, 90%. That would be fantastic. So listen, love chocolate. You guys know my wife is pregnant, so she's probably gonna eat all 3 of these. Not gonna give that one to her because we're tossing this in the trash, but great stuff right here. Definitely stick with the highest ones with the lowest carbohydrates and you guys will have a lot of fun. Next question says, I'm looking for something to satisfy my crunch cravings and I don't want to wreck my diet. So what do I do about that? All right, ready? Here we go. If you're craving something crunchy, you're probably salt deficient. And I want you to think about this. Most things that are crunchy are salted. So you have pretzels, you have chips, you have crackers, etc. And there's something very unique about cravings. Cravings actually will tell you something you're deficient. So when somebody's like, oh, I'm craving chocolate, I want chocolate, all I can think about all day is chocolate, it tells me you're mineral deficient. Specifically like magnesium, maybe selenium and iron, because there's lots in here and your body knows this innately and instinctively, so it's gonna ask you to eat chocolate because you need what the chocolate has. So if you're constantly like, crunch, 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 I just want something crunchy, I'm gonna challenge you to see if you're actually a salt deficient person. And you may think like, what? I thought salt causes high blood pressure and heart disease and everything else, but true real salts again have minerals in them. And while yes, I've got some of my favorites we're gonna go through on like something you can eat that's crunchy, remember, if you can salt your water or you can take salt as a capsule, those crunch cravings may disappear. And I'd rather you look at it as getting to the root, to the cause, rather than using this food as a medication or some sort of supplement or, I don't know, a bandage for your crunch addiction. Let's try to find out what's causing that. So first on the table here is something I love. These things are amazing if you guys have never had them. It's toasted coconut chips. And basically what it is they have, taken out some of the meat of the coconut, dehydrated it. Yes, there's a little sugar in here. These are Italian espresso flavored, but you're looking at 9 total carbohydrates with 5 fibers. So you subtract the 2, it's only a 4-gram net carb. It's really, really low. Now watch out. Most of you will probably eat this whole thing at once. There's 3 servings in here, so these are meant to be like, crunch snacks. But these things are great. They're loaded with fat. It has 13 grams of fat. And in my opinion, you can't find a fattier, crunchier thing that will satisfy that sort of crunch desire. I love these and I eat them all the time. Next would be if you like chips, I'm gonna try to get you guys out of the corn chips, even USDA, organic, stone ground corn. Don't let that stuff, disguise you. Corn is still an inflammatory food. It's loaded with omega-6 fats. So I like this brand here. It's a baked lentil chips from Saffron Road. What I like about them is they have absolutely no corn ingredients at all, and they're gluten-free. So if I read the ingredients to you guys, it says they are made from beans, lentils, and garbanzos. They have pea starch. They have potato fiber, potassium chloride, calcium chloride, and rosemary extract. So basically some electrolytes and some salts and some rosemary, and they're made with beans. So this would be a great chip substitute. It's about $3 and some change for the bag, so not bad for what you're getting out of it. A great one. Another good one is kind of along the same line. This is another company called Benito's. They make a bean-based chip, and what I love about this one is, it's not in a funky shape. It looks like a regular chip, like you guys are used to, restaurant-style sort of tortilla chip, but there's no corn in it at all. Again, ingredients. This is like one of my favorites. Pure whole navy beans, long grain rice, and sea salt. Pretty simple. A little bit of oil because they have to cook it in an oil, but you're looking at 16 grams of total carbs, 5 grams of fiber, so that's an 11-gram net carb. Keep it down to where you're only having maybe say like 7 or 8 of these in a setting. Totally fine. They even have 7 grams of fat. That's really good for chip because again, we want high fats and moderate to low carbohydrates. Lastly, just because we eat these like they're going out of business, but Mary's crackers are great, sort of a crunch cracker that has no wheat in it. It's completely grain-free. I love that they are GMO verified. And the ingredients on this is basically quinoa, sesame seeds, flax seeds, hemp seeds, chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, sea salt, garlic powder, black pepper, nutmeg. It has 17 grams of carbs because seeds do have some carbohydrates in them, but with 3 grams of fiber, you're looking at, about 14 total carbs for every 5 crackers. So no more than 5, and there you go. These are nice because hemp and chia seeds inside of them, they taste really, really good. A little more expensive, is about $5 for a box of crackers, but still, it's your health, it's worth it. So some really good options for those of you who are looking for something crunchy or salty. So hopefully that helps. Next question says, I get a lot of bloating and gas after eating. What's going on? So first of all, it really depends upon what you're eating. So for example, if you get a lot of bloating and gas after you're eating fat, so like an avocado or a coconut smoothie, that would tell me that there's something going on with your gallbladder. Primarily because your gallbladder's job is to help you to digest fat. So maybe if you have your gallbladder and it's contracting, it's not squeezing enough of the bile solution out. So if a lot of undigested and denatured fats are getting into your small intestine, then it really plays around with how the intestines work. So it can produce a lot of bloating and gas and kind of gurgling sensations. So, you got to look at your gallbladder. If you don't have a gallbladder, then I want to make sure I'm very, very clear. Every time you eat something that has fat in it, you must take either bile salts as a supplement or some sort of fat-based lipase enzyme. And it's a sad reality today where a lot of people, especially women, don't have gallbladders and they've never been told that you need to supplement. We take a thyroid out and everybody knows you got to take hormones for the rest of your life. You take your ovaries out and you got to take hormones the rest of your life. You take your gallbladder out and they're like, it's totally fine. And that is 100% not the truth. We had a gallbladder for a reason. It helps us to digest fats. So if you don't have a storage of bile, when you eat fat, you can't squeeze the bile out. And so that usually leads to some sort of bloating or nausea. So definitely the way you fix this is using bile salts, which is actually something you can Google and look up. They sell them separately, or you can take an enzyme. If you're using an enzyme, make sure it has hydrochloric acid in it, and it also has lipase, which is a fat digesting enzyme. It could be, though, that maybe you're doing it after you eat vegetables. So broccoli or kale or chard or something to that effect. Usually bloating after vegetables is a sign that you are also deficient in salt, because we need salt to produce hydrochloric acid, so the chloride from the salt is not there. So you can't produce the acid, so you don't break apart the bacteria on a lot of the vegetables that we consume, and you don't digest them completely. So more of a complex starch enters the small intestines, and man, that wreaks havoc. It creates a lot of bloating, gas, gurgling, nausea, etc. So typically, bloating after food is an indication your digestive system is not up to snuff. And so one easy start can be enzymes. Something else that works really great, though, is peppermint and peppermint teas. Maybe try drinking about a cup or 2 of just a slightly warm, loose leaf peppermint tea. And if you have essential oils, you can even put a drop or 2 of peppermint into the tea and drink it. Now, word of caution, peppermint is extremely strong stuff if you're using the oil. So 1 drop of peppermint oil is completely enough. If you do more than that, because it has some digestive assistance, peppermint will also clean you out. So if you're going to do like 3 or 4 or 5 drops of peppermint, just be prepared to be on the toilet for probably the next day, because it empties things out. But it's very soothing, it's very helping in low amounts. So maybe a glass of peppermint tea or 1 drop of peppermint oil in the tea, and it can help with bloating, gas, nausea, and everything with digestive issues. Next question says, I get a lot of cold sores after eating fruit. What's going on? Well, tricky question, because technically a cold sore is a viral expression of like a herpes virus, which, by the way, listen, that doesn't mean you're, infected with some sort of sexually transmitted disease. That's a slightly different type of a herpes virus. All of us have a herpes virus in our mouth, in the mucosal membranes, and usually what you'll find out is a cold sore comes out when you're stressed out. Now, cold sores often show up along the lip line or underneath the nose, sometimes even inside the lip and the mouth, and they affect a lot of people, and they can be quite nasty because they hurt and they burn and they tingle, and especially for women and men, we don't like having blisters on our lips and things to that effect. So a cold sore, by definition, probably didn't get that when eating fruit. I think what you're thinking of is a canker sore, which is more of like a small ulcer inside the mucosal membranes. And canker sores can definitely develop when you have like lots of acidity or lots of sugar. So if you're pulling your lip down and you see this very nice like circle that's kind of white, maybe has a little bit of a raised ring, that's a canker sore. You don't have to worry about those being infecting or spreading or viral. It's just a sign you've been way too acidic lately and eating too much sugar. So why would the acidity from citrus fruits cause it? Because they're acidic, so they can lower the pH within the mouth, and so you tend to get a lot of canker sores that way. Same thing with sugar. If you eat lots of sugar, it lowers the pH of the saliva. Boom, we get it. So something that can help temporarily is take some baking soda on a Q-tip and pack it on that. It'll decrease and change the pH. Actually, it increases and changes the pH and it'll help it to clear out. But remember, all of your mucosal linings replace themselves every 14 days. So in about 2 weeks, it'll be gone. Back to the cold sore though. So these are, again, viral expressions, and they usually can get pretty nasty. My wife deals with them. I don't ever really seem to express it. I think partly it's your immune system and the ability to kind of fight viruses off. But a lot of women get them, especially during their cycle and also when they're really highly stressed out. So I want to share with you something that my wife actually said, hey, answer this and give this as a solution. When you get a cold sore and it's starting to develop, you usually feel a little tingle of where it's going to begin with. Take a cotton ball, dunk it into apple cider vinegar, and put a little witch hazel on it and hold that right on the spot. You will actually start to feel a little tingle. It's the natural antiviral properties of that apple cider vinegar and witch hazel just pushing the virus back. Now, it's not a fix because it's going to go somewhere else, but if you do have one that's like under the nose or around the lip and it's like full blistered, it's disgusting looking, it hurts, it stings and burns, you can still do the same thing and it'll make it heal a lot faster. Like the Abreva over-the-counter $50 little half-ounce things, they kind of do the same thing. They are antivirals to just push the viruses back in. But once you do that, again, that would imply to me that you've got a pretty heavy viral load on the herpes side. And what we want to do is actually try to get rid of the viruses. So maybe worth running a viral panel and also worth doing some antiviral protocols. You can get more information about that on our website, which is askdrernst.com. Next question says, is oatmeal filled with gluten? You've talked about this before, but I really like oats. Can I eat oats and be gluten-free? Okay, technically you can. Oats by themselves don't have a gluten component, but they have another protein called abanin, which is actually a protein that can stimulate an issue just like gluten for a lot of people. So just because they don't have gluten doesn't mean they don't have these irritating proteins that can affect your intestines. Also, another fun fact I found, most oats are grown obviously in the field and they're on a long stalk and you have the oat seed at the top, but you tend to get a little contamination with weeds and also things like wheat or barley or stuff like that, because a lot of farms that are growing oats are also doing other grains. So when they're collecting a lot of the oats, it's not always a guarantee that it's gluten-free because it could have a subtle contamination with barley or wheat or rice or something to that effect. So what we want to do is just kind of recognize, I'm not so much a big fan against oatmeal because it's got gluten or doesn't have gluten. I'm a big fan against it just because it's a grain across the board and that stuff turns directly into sugar. Plus, when you make oatmeal, you're soaking that oat and they've had to unroll it because by definition, oat's a hard seed. Like if you ever had a steel cut oat, that's a real oat that's been sliced in half, really crunchy, kind of gritty. Most of you that are eating oatmeal probably aren't doing that. You're using the rolled oat, which is a process to unroll it. So again, it's a lot of processing, it's a lot of sugar, and I tend to stay away from it. Plus, most people put a ton of sugar and honey and stuff inside their oatmeal. So it's more or less a carrier of all things bad for breakfast. But technically, you're right, it is gluten-free, but most of the time it's filled with some sort of a contaminant. Next question says, castor oil packing, what is it and how does it work? Okay, so a castor oil pack is a great way to do an anti-inflammatory process for the body. What it does essentially is it stimulates your lymphatic system because the fat is absorbed directly through the skin and you have lymph channels underneath the skin, and castor oil fats have been shown to stimulate the lymphatic tissue. In fact, there was a study done almost in the year 2000, it was 1999, where they found out that when you castor oil pack, you have a huge increase in something called your T11 cells. And what it does is that they found out that once you do a castor oil pack, which takes about 20 minutes, you get all the way up to a 7-hour push of these high lymphatic T cells. And that's huge because T cells go around and they clean up debris, damage, and everything else. and this response can last for a very long time. So what castor oil packs do is they try to increase cellular healing at the area that you apply them, and they try to boost and drain lymphatic tissue. So they work really, really well for lymph draining, for gallbladder flushing, and for, kind of cleansing of the intestines. And honestly, castor oil packs, they're actually really easy to do. So what you would get is some castor oil, and you'll need some gauze, some parchment paper, and maybe like a hot water bottle or some sort of something that you can put on the area that's hot. And what you do is you would take castor oil and put it on your skin, maybe about the size of a good silver dollar, or like a nice circle, maybe 2 inches across. Let's say we're going to castor oil pack our gallbladder. So shirt comes up, got my skin, I put the castor oil directly onto it, and then you want to put some gauze on top of that, and that's simply just to hold the castor oil in place. Once you've done that, we're going to put some parchment paper over top of it, because next we want to put like a towel or some sort of hot pad down, because the heat will help to push the castor oil through the skin and activate the lymphatic response. So typically it's castor oil, gauze, parchment paper, a towel, and then a hot water bottle or a heating pad. And then, the towel again, so you can help to push it there. And then what you do is you leave it there for 20 to 30 minutes. The castor oil will be absorbed through the skin, and you activate your lymphatic response. So what are they? They are a way of applying castor oil directly through the skin to boost immune systems. Why do they call them castor oil packs? Because you have to kind of pack this thing. So it's like this layer, that layer, this layer, that layer, some heat, push it in. And what they do is they boost your lymphatic system and they activate your immune response. Great question. And in my opinion, you guys should all be castor oil packing your liver and your gallbladders at least maybe once a week, if not once a month. Next question says, what test do I ask for my doctor to run a thyroid panel? And so I have a thyroid panel here that's a complete thyroid panel, and this is one that we run in our office, but if you're going, I want my doctor to do it, here's what you need to ask for. Thyroid stimulating hormone, thyroxine, which is T4, your T3 uptake, your free thyroxine index, basically how much T4 is free versus bound, triiodothyroxine, which is T3, and then you want to look for the free T3. And then you want to look for direct serum T4. And then you want to look for reverse T3 serum. And then you want to look for thyroid peroxidase enzyme, TPOAB. TPOAB. And then you want to look for thyroglobulin antibodies. So all in all, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 different thyroid tests to make a complete thyroid panel. Here's the challenge, guys. Most people that get their thyroid tested by their doctor are running 3, if that. Sometimes they only run 1. And thyroid stimulating hormone, while it stimulates the thyroid, is not actually a thyroid hormone, it's a brain hormone. So think of it like this. Your brain secretes TSH as a gas pedal. It tells the thyroid, secrete T4. So that's why we want to look for T4. But we also want to know how much T4 is free versus bound to the proteins. So knowing those numbers are important. Now, your liver converts T4 into T3. And again, we have bound and unbound. So that's why we want T3 and free T3. But if you're stressed out and your hormones are out of balance and your body's in a state of disarray with digestive systems and your liver, instead of converting to T3, you can convert to something called reverse T3 or RT3. So that's why we would want to know what is your reverse T3 level. It's very important to find out that, because that's usually why most people still are symptomatic, even though they have normal blood tests of looking at just TSH, T3, and T4. The last two are huge. Your thyroid peroxidase is an enzyme that does the conversion. So if you have antibodies, that's why it's TPOAB, AB for antibodies. If you have antibodies against that enzyme, you're destroying the enzyme and you can't do the conversion. And that's going to make you feel like things are falling apart, even though the TSH, T3, and T4 will be normal. And lastly, the thyroglobulin antibody is the carrier. So think of it like this. This chocolate bar is a protein that carries the hormone around. If I'm destroying this protein, I can't carry the hormone, so it never lands on the receptor and it doesn't work. Most people that have thyroid problems have a receptor or a conversion issue. So what does a test like this run? Well, for your medical doctor, sometimes just doing reverse T3 and the antibody test can be $300, $400, $500. We have a relationship through LabCorp directly in my office. You're looking at maybe about $180 for all 10 tests, all included with a review that we can do for you. So if you're looking for some solutions for that, definitely reach out to us and we can help. And lastly, for the final question of the night, somebody asked a very unique question, and I thought I would answer this because it sparked an interest that I had in teaching something to you guys tonight. Somebody said, hey, listen, I have a lot of left-sided neck pain and left-sided shoulder pain, been everywhere. Chiropractic, physical therapy, acupuncturist, massage, nothing seems to be working. What's going on? So I want to talk to you about a concept that we would call referred pain. Now, there's also some things we're going to discuss in a minute because I still question, did you actually get the spine set properly? Because left-sided neck pain is typically a sign that something's out within the left, typically the occiput and the atlas. But let's talk about this referred pain for a moment. Are you guys familiar with the concept that where something hurts is not always where the problem is? And that's what's called referred pain. Now, specifically the left side of the neck up to the left shoulder and kind of right through your upper trap is actually a referral site for your pancreas. So if you're this person and you're going, man, my left neck, or I'm constantly getting knots under my left neck, it could be here, not here. And your pancreas sits just below your xiphoid process. And there's actually a little test you can do to see if your neck pain is coming from your pancreas. And all you do is you push in and down, so like with a little downward force, not enough for it to hurt, but in and down, and you would go, is my neck pain gone? And if it is, it's a positive reflex test for your pancreas, and that means it's time to get your pancreas looked at. Now, why on earth would your pancreas make your neck hurt? Well, it's because that's where your body sends the pain from the pancreas. Another example of referred pain is if you get headaches around the top of your skull, that's usually a sign that your liver is having a problem. If you have sciatica, but it doesn't go down to the bottom of your foot, it stops at your knee, that's actually your digestive system, specifically your colon. So you may have pain in a part of your body, but it's not that there's something wrong in that part. And this is what tricks a lot of doctors and why you need to really look at things functionally. Make sure whoever you're seeing is somebody who understands reflexology, referral pain patterns, neurology, spinal, thalamic pathways, and everything that's involved within the pain response. As a chiropractor, I also think left-sided neck pain that's constant, not responding to chiropractic care, physical therapy, acupuncture, massage, is a classic sign of an atlas misalignment that's been misdiagnosed. There is a special ligament that holds this first bone exactly in place. And if it slides left or right, a lot of chiropractors miss the test for this. So they go, adjusting your neck, popping your joints. And if you feel good, but then the pain comes back again, chances are you may have an unset atlas. So there's really unique tests that can be done to look for that. And in fact, it's something that we do quite often in our office. So I don't know if you're watching tonight. I don't know if somebody is watching that has an issue with their neck tonight. But I promise you, if you find the source, and not look at always where the pain is, then your body can heal from anything. And so with that, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Don't forget, I have two big announcements I want to make. Saturday, the 27th of August is our Thyroid Summit. Guys, it's not even 3 weeks away, and we are already almost completely sold out. As of today, we have 30 spaces remaining before even the paid tickets go completely out. So there is an offer that I'm going to run until Saturday, this week, that you can actually get free tickets to that event, 100% covered by me, and some for your guests if you want, up to the 30 that are remaining. So there's some information below on how you can register for that. And don't forget, join us every Saturday at 3 p.m. on 11:10 a.m. for the Ask Dr. Ernst show. This week we're going to be discussing information about genetics and what it has to do with your propensity for disease. And we're also going to be talking about the cellular healing diet, which has been shown to turn off bad genes and turn on your good genes. And of course, we all want our health to be turned on. So thanks so much for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week with Q&A with Dr. A. Until then.